6/28/17. On the left, it's a letter that I got as, she discarded me and abandoned the marriage. She's still keeping up appearances with me here. On the right, as a correspondence she had around the same time with the married man who is the husband of a former key-holding employee of my business, which happened to be missing a pretty good bit of money at the time of her abandonment and subsequent silent treatment. I've been suffering silent treatment abuse for almost a year. So, without further ado, wishing you a good night's rest. I want you to know I love you more each day, which is, as you'll see, not true at all. She actually she hated me for whatever reason. I don't believe she even hates me. That would require some type of a thought. Now she says, I love you more today. Then just remember, even though I might react or get upset sometimes, I still accept you for who you are. I never want to judge you. We all make mistakes. We all go through rough times. You are a fighter, though, and I know if you want something bad enough that you'll make it happen. Now, this was real inspirational, And this coming from someone who is in a very, at least what I believe to be, kind of disrupted state of mind. Her track record shows she's not exactly the epitome of sanity. And what she's doing here is, it sounds like she's giving me like a pep speech to just, keep my head up and remember, that this is not going to be an easy transition, and I don't know what she's talking about. And she just says, please know I'm going to do everything to make our marriage work, and she did absolutely nothing to make our marriage work, as she discarded me and has tortured me in silence for almost a year. And it's coming. I'll make it quick here. I'll try to get through it. If you ever feel down, lonely, and this is something that is just a slap in the face over what happened. If you ever feel down, lonely, weak, upset, please reach out to me. No matter what time, I'll listen. I'll support you in any way that I can. Just please keep the line of communication open so I can know how you feel. Well, let's see, what was it? 5 days after this, the line of communication was completely cut off, and I was served with a protection from abuse order, where she alleged that I beat her, choked her, crammed guns down her throat, and was extensively violent and abusive throughout our entire marriage. And it was lies. All of it was lies. I mean, June the 28th, 2017, I get served with paperwork on the 6th of July. Well, as you can read in the letter on the left, there's no indication that she had been suffering and finally out of the house, and then, she had been suffering for all of these years, the trauma of being beaten and choked and having guns crammed down her throat throughout her entire marriage, and just violent and stuff like, no. And the thing of it is during the same time, she has a correspondence with this dude who's, like I said, married to a former key holder, some married man who is having correspondence with my married wife behind my back. Nothing I know about. I didn't even know these people talk to each other. He says he reaches out right up before you can see it, but it'll get to it, and you can trust me if they want to call it. Hey, I don't want to inject any drama in your life. I got a job opportunity for you as this married man that lives like hours away in another land is like offering my wife the thrill of working with such an amazing human being, he knows that she's married. He knows that she's married to me, but he also knows that the job that he's offering her is a job that I got him, as a favor, to help him out, because up until I see all this stuff, we didn't talk to him, or I didn't talk to him. I figured we were on the up and up. I didn't realize there was any kind of situation going on, but we'll get to that. She says, "Oh, yo, this sounds so wonderful." No mention of my husband. I have some experience in all these areas and not mention of my husband. The idea of working to build our Southern historical heritage sounds very exciting without my husband. It would be an honor and it'd be so much fun to work with such an amazing like you, she says. I'm really to the point of realizing that I deserve a better life. She's to the point of having the realization that she deserves a better life as she plans with another married man in another town to abandon her marriage behind her husband's back with, as you can see on this letter, no indication that anything is wrong, at least to me. And she starts romanticizing. Plus, I have family there that I'm very close to, and the idea of getting to hang out with his wife, as she mentioned there, the former key holding employee of a business that I happen to be missing a lot of money until she's out the door, sounds like a true blessing from God. The idea of abandoning my husband and going down there to live with you two is a blessing from God. Well, I know it's not guaranteed, but I'll give it my all to prepare for this application. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh. And then she says, just FYI for your information. And this is where the analysis kind of took me by surprise that I hadn't seen this until now. She says, making a move like this is something I will have to keep very private, especially until I know that things are set up safely. You have a great day as well. And a big smiley face like she didn't just say that. Making a move like this is something I'll have to keep very private from my husband. Making a move like this is something that I will have to lie to my husband about. He doesn't need to know that I'm doing this. Making a move like this. Making a move. Now, when you make a move, you make a move. You move a piece. You play in a game. You make moves. You're not moving to like some other city because guess what? That didn't happen and that was never part of the plan. She was making a move that she has to keep very, very private. Well, obviously not private from them because he understands completely. Making this move where you're setting up things, where you're setting people up, where you're setting your husband up until you know that things are set up safely. Well, here's something interesting. She hasn't committed to the job. She hasn't gotten a job. She hasn't even applied for the job. She says, I'll give it my all to prepare to apply for the job that he's offering her. Well, why is she talking about making a move already and especially until she knows that things are set up safely? Why is she already talking about this? She hasn't done anything. She hasn't made any moves. She hasn't even prepared to apply according to this letter. Especially till I know that things are set up safely. Well, until she knows. Well, when does she know that things are set up safely? When someone tells her that things are set up safely? Who? Who is reporting to her to say, okay, things are set up safely? This means that somebody else is doing something. There's somebody else is setting something up for her, is getting something set up, is working in private behind her husband's back, very private, as she plans on abandoning a marriage whenever I'm missing a lot of money and things are getting set up safely. Things are set up because she's not going to make a move like that until she knows that whatever things are being set up, it's safe for her to make her move. Like that. I mean, hell, he understands completely. Well, I understand completely. I understand, I've only told, my wife is the former key holder of your husband's business, and I know she's not going to say anything to your husband. Be safe. That's safely, safe. Okay, so when someone says, even a flying monkey, the former key holder employee says, be safe, and they say, be safe to each other all the time. Well, be safe is not like a traditional salutation or whatever whenever you're saying goodbye. Safe indicates danger. Be safe. Watch out. Watch your back. Be safe. Don't do anything that would, cause any problems. And furthermore, a safe is where you keep money. Yay. Especially until I know that things are set up safely. Until I get the green light that whatever these things that she's talking about are set up safely. Okay? I'm moving on. Let's see, not quite yet. Yeah, this was earlier, because I didn't realize, this had been going on where this interloper reaches out to my wife in February, and he says, I hope you are well and that Aaron, which is me, is not being too much of a pain. I was wondering if you know of any cool food trucks that are in operation in Alexandria. Food. Well, I know something that's also called food. Dog food. That's what they call heroin. Is there an operation there in Alexandria? Because guess what? They don't live in Alexandria. Not at all. They live a long way away. And I haven't seen them here. You know what I mean? And, Boucher's and whatever this thing I've never heard of, they both have Facebook pages. Hey, look, I need to come see y'all soon. Hope all's well. She misses you. And you girls need to get together and have a girls' night, Well, this man... Well, he didn't like too much whenever he walked in on his wife getting freaky deaky with another girl that I happen to know, that we know, that, he got so upset that they kicked her out of their home, despite the fact that his wife had initiated everything, like with this woman, kicked the woman out, and then this man right here begins chasing the woman down in his car while she's walking down the road half naked, just being kicked out in the rain, in the woods. And he actually drove his car at her to all the way into the freaking woods where she had to hide away in brambles and thickets for the entire night for him to, go away. So he's a real card. And this is, after, because see, they don't have any correspondence. February, and then no correspondence until, right up there around the same time that she was writing me the letter saying about how she's falling in love with me more and more each day, and I need to hang in there and all this shit that I don't even know what the hell she's talking about. I don't want to inject any drama in your life, but hey, I have some drama. A job that you can come, or whatever, and replace it, whatever. Okay, cool. And that's whenever she goes back to that mode where she says oh, I can't believe it. Yes, yes, yes. By the way, I'm still waiting on things on that, whatever those things will be set up, let's see. These are Please don't take this the wrong way. Not sure if you check these. I need somebody to talk to, but she's not going to talk to me. She talks about how scary and violent it called. She had to call somebody, but I actually called the police because she almost killed me with a knife. But she claims that she called her mother, And she says it really sucks because I was trying to keep them out of our business, which is total bullshit. Then she briefly blurps about how she and I separated a few years ago because both of us were battling severe addiction and almost killed each other. Well, that's not exactly what happened. In 2014, her parents spun up enmeshment trauma and dragged her back over into the house, and the usual suspects were involved, the key-holding employee and all this same old shit. But for some reason or another, she didn't commit to leaving the relationship at that time, and she came back. I was told that there was a sexual encounter with her and the former key-holding employee by a witness. And then, furthermore, she left in her haste as she, I guess was frantic, planning the discard of her husband, probably just thrilled with excitement. She left her phone, a computer, an iPad, and all kind of fun stuff. And the phone had phone numbers from like guys she was calling. One of them was a number, some dude in the ghetto at like 1 a.m. There's a bunch of like, very risque pictures on her phone that I never got, and stuff like that. And most of the stuff was deleted. Well, neither of us were battling severe addiction that I knew of. So there you go. Whenever it's important that she says, we or whatever, that's her way of saying I or me, because she can't directly, implicate herself in anything. She has to drag me into it. So we tried working things out, and I didn't realize that, up until this point, which would be like June of 2017, and that happened in 14. So I didn't realize that we were still working things out after 3 years. After she tried to kill me twice, well, 3 times altogether. And she says, despite what it may appear to be, it's been nothing more than an emotional and abusive roller coaster. And then she invokes me. What she's saying is this: despite the appearances that I give off, it's been nothing more than just me being emotionally abusive and dragging him up and down and everything else, And then she goes on to say, of course, the truth about my parents are so done with him. Her parents, who don't know me at all, They don't know me. They never got to know me. They never asked me any questions about myself. They don't know how old I am. They don't know how to spell our last name. They don't know when my birthday is. They probably don't even know my sister's name. If they know that I have a sister or care or whatever. In almost 10 years that she and I have been together, they haven't called me a single time, neither one of them, nor has anybody in their family called me ever, not once in 10 years. And furthermore, they've spun up abuse and enmeshment traumas on my wife to punish me for whatever reason, because they're abusive crooks. More times than I can count, they've abused me. And so is she. She's abusive, and she's not a good person at all. I'm going to show you. I don't want to say much to my girlfriends because I'm worried about gossip affecting my. Well, guess what? I guess she wasn't worried about her girlfriends because she doesn't have any girlfriends, no long term, and the only one person that she talks to since she's kept since high school or whatever, they talk maybe once every 3 or 4 years, at least from what I can tell. And knowing my wife, she just keeps that one around, like just in case she needs some type of long term character witness or whatever. But she wasn't worried about her own gossip, nor was she worried about the gossip of her mother. Whenever I asked her about it, she said she didn't care that her mother was going around and telling people that I almost killed her and it was affecting my. She said she didn't care. So I guess her parents are done. It's hard to talk to them because her mom keeps reminding her of all the awful times that her parents actually made. Because they displaced, the mother will start calling and berating her, and because my wife is enmeshed to them, it's uncontrollable, and they'll create this illusion of danger and all this stuff, and then they'll flip it around and stage some rescue scenario or whatever, and then of course my wife doesn't shy away from just jumping in the dog pile of the abuse. And she says, I don't want to say I've been worried about him for a while. And all this is keeping up appearances because she goes through I'm on a trip to Texas this time. She goes through everyone, and she says these little messages and stuff or whatever. And she said that, I told her I'd been using meth behind her back, and instead of being caring and supportive, she says I got angry, and then she got upset, and then she got confused. But she doesn't say anything. She says I was upset when you told me. She doesn't say anything about herself. She doesn't put herself in that category because she was railing the shit off a toilet in a bar. And then, she did some with me on a few occasions. That's what we did. We partied once in a while or whatever. But see, she did the shit, a lot more than I thought. I love him so much. I really do, but it hurts so bad because it breaks my heart. I don't know what that means or what she's talking about. And she says, I know I'm a real bitch. But I swear that I try, to not be a real bitch. I mean, if you have to try to not, if you try your best and swear on it to not be a bitch, well, then you're a bitch, a real bitch. As you say here, it's not easy because I always own up to my mistakes, which is bullshit. And she definitely takes care of herself. She definitely does that. And then she says, he will never admit to being anything other than perfect. Well, I'm not perfect. I'm a sinner. I've made mistakes in my life, and we can sit down and we can discuss all of them. So there you go. That right there is a lie, because I just proved wrong. She prays that things will get better because I really don't want to give up on marriage. Well, so how do you pray that things will get better, but then like kind of admit that you're praying that things will get better because you don't want to give up on marriage? Is simple. You want to give up on marriage. It's more than that, but at the same time, I don't want it to kill me. She didn't say him. I don't want him to kill me. She said, I don't want it to kill me. And it that she's referring to is her marriage. She doesn't want to give up on the marriage, but she doesn't want not giving up on it to kill her, because she's dying inside to get out and do the discard, because she's been working very hard to clean me out and get ready for this. So there's a couple other things here. Let's see if I... well, this is just another evidence that she's a lie. So like, on, this would have been June the 29th, something happened, and like, she started trying to kind of convince me that like this guy that I went to high school with, she was like scapegoating him. And it's kind of ridiculous because like, after she left, she'd actually taken the time to make a bag that had like some of her lingerie in it, a wig, and his work shirt, to make me think that something was going on, which is just silly. Because she wouldn't keep it. It's silly because like she wouldn't ever do anything. Like if she's been like cheating on me and seeing somebody else, and like I had no idea, right? So like it wouldn't. She totally wouldn't leave it out there like that or whatever. So when I messed up, I said, well, he called and asked her if she wanted to buy some dope from him or whatever, and she's like, well, this is what where I started to get under her shit, because she says, well, that's really weird, I tried texting him on Messenger several weeks ago saying that we need to talk because I needed to confront him about some issues I have with him, but he never replied. I don't know his phone number though. He may just be trying to get his stash, if you know what I mean, because basically what she kind of tried to play off was that like this guy was keeping a stash of like all these drugs at our house, and well, it was hers. And because the amount of money that I was missing, and then right before her departure, the sheer amount of substances that she had, was just startling, because she was out of the house. She'd left. There were substances that were left or whatever, but I'm not sure why that was done, because like as far as like say marijuana, for example, she had high-grade medicinal marijuana coming into the home from somebody she said was getting it for Colorado. She initially told me that it was one individual, and when I asked her again, she said she wasn't going to tell me and to fuck off and all this stuff, and it wasn't none of my business who my wife was buying massive amounts of very expensive pot from and having it shipped to our house. And I'd beg to differ, because that is kind of my business. But she says this. It's really where I try to... We'll check this out. Right here. This was that day. Right there. Trying to get in touch with you. Do not have yourself. So she tells me right here... The same day, she tells me right here, she says, that's really weird. I've been trying to text him on Messenger several weeks ago, but that message that she said she sent him, she actually sent later on that day. Because as you can see here, the last communication they had was on October the 31st, 2015, which is good in of itself. First of all, she says, Aaron mentioned you might be stopping by this weekend to bring some money for him, which is that's almost hilarious, because everybody knows this dude ain't paying nobody back. Ever. As a matter of fact, any of my friends will tell you if I loaned anybody any money, I would give it to them, because I, like most, normal people in the world, know that, like, the best way to lose a friend is to loan money, and I gave him money. But she says this, like, and she says, well, if you are going to stop by this weekend to bring him some money, will you please text me before you do? Send me a text to somebody. She just said she didn't have their number, you know. And then she says, well, if you're not stopping by, then no worries. Just give me a heads up. So, like, why would my friend, like, from high school be giving her a heads up before he comes over to give me money or whatever it is they're talking about? And then he responds, because I'm working, like, this day. It's Halloween. I remember we all get dressed up. She says, and he says, yes, I was waiting first for you to let me know when it was a good time at 2:24 p.m. Well, then I leave for work at 3. And then at 3:36, she says, you can come over now, or later is fine too. I'll be here. Now, being that I found a bra and all this kind of stuff would probably lead somebody to believe that they were, like, doing something like sexually inappropriate, even though, well, they were doing something inappropriate, but it wasn't sex. Because I come home at random times. She doesn't know when I'm going to come home from my work or on my business. I could show up at any time. So she says, you can come over now or later is fine too. I'll be here. Okay, that means they're having a brief encounter. And that means one thing. She's buying dope. She's getting, more than likely, opiates. So there's that. Because she took almost a whole bottle of mine. Now, this is where she says, that basically all the bullshit she said about me abandoning her, or the abuse, or all the crap that she's trying to do to screw me over, where she just simply says the reason is, like, she'd rather be alone than married to someone she's not in love with. It's cold, but I'm done with living a lie. I can't pretend, to give your love to somebody that you don't care about, and he deserves somebody that can. Hopefully he'll have that one day. So she's hopeful that I'll have somebody, that I deserve, but it's not her. Here's where she just makes threats, where she says, like, hey, let me know, because I have a few wild cards that I don't really want to play, but I'll play them if it gets really ugly. So she's holding something back there. She's a wild card, she says, that she's just going to throw up there, in case we're... So this is her as she has a conversation with the former key holder, in which she says, like, a motherfucker is going down all this bullshit. And then she says, like, right here, oddly enough, it's like, well, as her lawyer, like, said to drain my checking account, that was cool, just advise her to go ahead and take all of my money, just drain it, or whatever. And, I'll leave him with 75 cents of thinking about it. Well, she did, but oh yeah, she's deserves a spa day, as her friend, Flying Monkey, former key holder, says, like, yeah, don't listen to me because I'm a spiteful biatch, which is probably the best advice she's ever given anyone. And then my wife comes back with, yeah, I deserve a spa day. Girl, I deserve it. Rolling on the floor laughing, but I'm just going to leave that money there so you can buy some more meth. And she just goes from concerned wife because her husband has some relapsed on some horrifyingly bad addiction, that both of them do, and everybody knows it, except for, the people she doesn't want to, the people that she's using right now. I mean, she's rolling on the floor laughing about, something that's not really funny. Like, if somebody that you care about, like, comes to you and they have a problem or something, like, everybody knows that you abandoned them and robbed them and everything, and then roll on the floor laughing with former key holding employees of a business that he's missing a lot of money from. Because it's strange, because she says, well, Ricky Bobby, which is me, because they think it's hilarious, is now blowing up her dad, saying that, you and I aren't smart enough to cover up our money laundering scheme. And I think that's awesome. And she thinks it's hilarious about how I said they ought to be using their money for, like, not her treatment program, because I said we should be using the money to get family help instead of wasting it in court. But that was hilarious, because she knows she already this was a plan from the beginning. Now, to me, I wasn't calling her dad, and I wasn't saying anything about a money laundering scheme. And the court has all those records. And I can only imagine, like, a father finding out something about hearing something about a money laundering scheme, and just going to tell his daughter that, like, hey, he just said that you and that key holding employee his, business aren't smart enough to cover up y'all's money laundering scheme, which basically now makes him complicit, at least to the degree of him not being too concerned about the fact that his daughter's like implicated in like a money laundering scheme. So I mean, there's that. Let's see. I had to call something. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah. So the store that she doesn't have, the business that she doesn't have. Did you open a store? And she says, yeah, an online store, which is called Addie's Closet, and she got a flying monkey over there to pretend for her and cover for her and pretend like it's not her business. And they even made up some story about that thing or whatever. Well, she owns it. She started it here, and I have the business plan because she left that behind. Of course, so you got the job. That's great because I helped him with it. Oh, hey, funny meme, how do I turn this emotional baggage into cold, hard cash? That's what I do with it. And she says, oh, yeah, this is my wife here. I woke up thinking about you too. And yes, hopefully this will turn into lots of cash. And that is freaking hilarious, Let's find it. Okay, yeah, where she said, like, this was because she says this to, like, for some reason or another, she's, like, telling this to, like, the key holder employee. But, like, I don't understand because, like, she's reiterating this stuff that, like, the woman already, like, knows or whatever, because it's almost like they're acting and keeping up appearances, And she says, like, we finally made amends after not speaking 2 hours away. Yeah, I made amends, but her father, he shook my hand, so it's like, that pretty much means that's it for me, because right at 6 months, she's out the door, and I've cratered out with my business finances and everything else, and like, so there's that. She said yesterday I called my mom because I was carrying around a rifle and a hammer, and like, I can't envision myself just like I have a rifle in one hand and a hammer in the other, and I'm just skulking about the house, and then I go bust into the bathroom with my rifle and my hammer, and then she's scared that I'm going to tear up the bathroom remodel. And that's not what happened at all. I was on my way to work, and I was bringing my rifle with me, and I went into the bathroom, and she was crying because her grandmother was sick. I assume that's why she was crying. I hope she was crying because she knew what she had to do to keep me out of trouble because of the stupid shit that she did. And I talked to her about it. She seemed consoled or whatever and fine, and I went out to go put on my boots, and then I went back into the bathroom literally less than 5 minutes to tell her bye, and then she was screaming and yelling at me about being a meth head and all this kind of stuff and everything else. So, she really wasn't trying to involve her parents, because she loves them so much and she trusts them so much. Well, then she says he left to go to Texas birthday party we both invited to, and I decided I was going to use that whenever to say that he abandoned me. He told me we weren't going, but instead he took off, and all she's worried about is that I'm partying with friends, And I was all this jerk acting like she's all the ones with the problem, and she says it's kind of ironic here. He's using his tactic of making me dual personality. Well, guess what? I see two people. I see this person right here, this lying piece of shit. And then I see, oddly enough, I have circled here, this funny date right here, New Year's Eve in 1969, 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which just happened to be in my accounting software. The business reported 383 missing transactions reporting in December the 31st, 1969, 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Oddly enough, there's only certain texts like this one, that's basically says everything that she says over here about me going to Texas and leaving her behind and abandoning her and all that bullshit is bullshit, because she said right here, I maintain that I called her to ask her to go. She says no. And then she said all this stuff. I need to figure out how to move forward. It's this, whatever it is, she doesn't say, but it's more than her job. Whatever it is, she doesn't say, it's everything, this ubiquitous thing. It's just easier to blame it on my job. Whatever it is, it's easier to blame it on my job, to have a scene, to go talk to a magistrate judge and 2 attorneys, claim an injury on the job, go to doctor, mental health specialist, and go into therapy and get on the state medical leave. That was easier. That was easier. I'm tired of lying. Pretending means lying. I'm tired of lying that everything's fine, that I'm happy. Okay? And I am terrified of admitting how I really feel and what the fuck is really going on. All I know is I need to, going ahead and enact my little discard before, it's too late and I do something really stupid like admit it. And here's another one that disappeared over there in 1969. Well, I've already wasted enough of my life with you. I'm done. Fucking done. I could so do much more better than you. Well, I didn't know that she felt that way. I didn't know that she could do way much better than me. I didn't realize that I was that far down on the list of people who are like, not good enough for this wretched, worthless asshole. Oh yeah, this one's good. Well, at first she says, she tells this friend of mine, up and to get some pictures of his phone. She tells him, yeah, he put that dope in there or whatever, just so he could make up some story, blame it on me or whatever, And then he comes back and says, well, that's highly unlikely. I watched him flush all this shit. And then she says, I didn't leave it. He put that there. And he says, I know he don't blow, referring to me. No, but he put that there just so he could blame it on me. That's what's fucked up. And then a little later in the conversation, he brings it back up again where he says, this point, we talk to you about anything. And then bitch at him for flushing that bud because he's trying to get her to call me to find out about his girlfriend. And then she says, of course, the shit that she didn't have that I put there just to blame on her. Well, then she says, I would have given it to you if you'd have gotten in touch with me sooner. I would have given you the dope that he planted. She would have done. Yeah, sure. That's obvious. This one's great too. Whatever it is, blah blah blah, and then it ends up, hey, a little bit later after I'm missing everything, and she's abandoned. She told me what you did for us. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. And then my wife is saying, oh, that's the least I can do. That was so wrong. When it's time for him to start taking responsibility for his behavior. And this was the end of their correspondence. So they had completed the task that she had assigned them to, and then she gave them money. Isn't that great? Simple. And it's all working up toward the state that the house was left in after she left. Well, this was 6 months after she was gone, whenever they came in here with an officer that was clearly assisting them in trying to make sure that there was no dope or anything that could be used to as evidence against her. And I can prove that on the video that I have. And her father's just smiling in my face because he's just thrilled for some reason or another. She's always been honest with my mother for some reason. And this is her way of being honest. Our marriage really started going downhill in 2017. And again, it's we, our, and all this stuff or whatever, because, it's she wants to include me in a situation where she's actually taking blame for something. She doesn't directly take blame for anything. Our marriage started going downhill again. Well, see, I was under the impression that it was getting better. So there's that. Because as a matter of fact, after she got out of her job, whenever she lied and said, that all this stuff about abuse, or she says she lied about it, which to me is kind of bullshit, because that her boss really was kind of abusive. The woman would send hundreds of texts sometimes. They'd start at 4:30 in the morning and go sometimes to 10 at night, every day, 7 days a week, even when they were off. And then the woman started trying to convince the faculty, the staff, put locator services on their phone so she could see where her air quote family was at all times and stuff. It's just, she was bad, very abusive woman, but it probably wouldn't faze my wife or whatever. So then she says we were fighting all the time and my depression, anxiety became unmanageable. Okay, so she was instigating shit with me like all the time toward the end there around like May or June of 2017. And yes, her depression, anxiety was fucking unmanageable. And, you know, little did I know that all this was like, you know, she says, I knew in my heart that I was miserable in our marriage. She's saying right here that she knew that she was fucking miserable, okay? But I didn't know why until like I realized this was all bullshit. I felt so unfulfilled, you know. Now, first of all, miserable and unfulfilled you will be. Depression and anxiety will become unmanageable because she was doing something really stupid. And also, you know, she had a habit of freaking using heroin on my back. I have to assume it's true because I found straws and lighters and foils and heroin, you know, in her things. I felt so unfulfilled. Yeah, that's what happens. You feel unfulfilled whenever you're doing unfulfilling, wretched shit behind your husband's back and you're lying and you're trying to make up excuses to abandon him and discard him because, you know, he made a lot of money off the deal. So it says, I thought, this is what she says. She's telling my mother this. She says, well, you know, I thought that it was because of the way that I was thinking, and that's absolutely, you know, it's more to the truth than anything else. It was the way she was thinking and what she was doing. And she says, if I could just try harder to be a more loving wife, it would all be okay. That's what I thought. I thought that if I could try harder to be a more loving wife, it would all be okay. If I accepted my faults and did my best to communicate, then at least I could say I tried. Well, you try harder to be a more loving. I mean, you don't more love somebody. You love them or you don't. But what she's saying here is if I could just try harder to keep up the appearance that I was a loving wife, you know, I could keep going with it or whatever. You know, if I accepted my faults and did my best to communicate, then at the very least, I could say I tried, not did, and then I could say that I did. How about not say that you did or say that you tried or whatever? Because if you say, well, like, if I do all these things to like pretend like, you know, I'm gonna commit here, you know, then at least I could say I tried to who? Who are you saying, well, I tried? And furthermore, like, the only reason you would be saying that you tried is when it's over. So she already knows right here. She's basically admitting it. She's saying, like, you know, if I could just, you know, have all these fantasies and you know, thoughts about actually doing something to make myself a better person, you know, then at least I could say that I tried those things, you know. Why wouldn't it be like, you know, then I succeeded, then I would be better, then I could, you know, then at least, at the very fucking least, you know, she could say that she tried, you know. Not that she actually did anything or whatever, so that was the whole point of that. And then she says, Aaron and I both found outlets to place our blame, which is another thing when she says we, you know, found outlets, and what she means is I. And, like, I say so, like, a normal human being blames who is to blame. If somebody does something to me, I blame them. If I do something that's not the best representation of myself, I blame myself. Okay? Well, if somebody else does something, then you blame them. Like, you know, her father's smiling in my face. Well, I blame him, you know, for the injury that he caused as a result. You know, I'm not looking for an outlet or a hole or a little cave, you know, or a heart or someone else to place my blame. Because what she's saying here is that she can't blame herself. So, you know, so in an effort to not blame herself, she goes looking for other places to put her blame. And then she says it was easier to lie about all this psycho boss, you know, stuff or whatever, and stressful job bullshit than to tell the truth that, you know, I wasn't happy, right? Well, because I was happy. I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't say we were unhappy with each other, because, like, she can't speak for me, because it's not true what she's saying. So what she's saying is, like, she basically defrauded the state and lied to everybody about this psycho boss or whatever. She's claiming that that's what happened or whatever, than it was to tell the truth, basically. And a lot of this whole letter, there's a bunch of them, there's many pages of this, but the bulk and the majority of what she says, that it's easier to lie than to tell the truth. It's easier to lie than to tell the truth. Like right here, when she says it was better to focus on anything other than the cold, it was easier to lie than tell the truth. Because she says it was better to focus on anything other than the cold, bitter reality, okay? Well, the only thing I think of cold and bitter is a woman who's just wretched, cold and bitter. Reality, real, the real thing, the reality, the true thing. That she says it was better to focus on anything other than reality, and what she's saying is it was better for her to lie. It was better. Much better. It was better that she lie. And I don't know anybody that would give credit to lying being better for anyone, because it's not. Then she says we projected the hostility on others and hid from what was real. Again, she projected her hostility onto me when she almost killed me with a fucking knife, and hid from what is really going on. When you hide from what's really, that's called a lie. When she was lying. And here's the creme de la creme. She said that she projected her hostility on others and lied about what was really going on. She put all the blame on the other people while she lied from what was really going on. And what was really going on is she was lying to me as she pretended that everyone else was trying to get over on us, steal from us, or take us down, instead of just admitting to the truth. Now, there was theft, a massive amount of it. People were trying to get over on us. And what she says right here is that she lied and projected the hostility and the blame on others. And that the theft and all that stuff or whatever was like part of this lie that she was telling. And she says that she pretended and went along with everyone else trying to get over on us, steal from us, and take us down, instead of just admitting to the truth. And there you have it. All of the action that was taken towards me and everything. Her father smiling in my face. Everybody treating me with silence. Her and a former keyholding employee, and all the shit that happened over the last several years since 2014, whenever she came back to the relationship after fucking me over then, was all part of a plan. And that plan was to rob me. And they did. Because then, I find this. It says 2014 from Christmas. She got a hand-drawn little stamp on there. It says $100,000 on it, and of course it's empty. Unloading and putting away all my clothes. Started crying. She started crying when she saw the sexy lingerie she didn't get to wear for me yet. And I didn't even know what was going on, like at this point. She hadn't, mention anything about it. She says, I remember buying and thinking it would please you. Silly me. You probably wouldn't have noticed anyway. And I probably noticed my wife in some sexy lingerie, but she never wore it for me. She bought it, and she has it apparently, like she says here, but she never wore it. So, And then she says, don't worry though, I definitely won't be wearing it for anyone else. Gross. Well, and she says, you wouldn't have noticed me in my sexy lingerie anyway. Why is it that immediately following is, don't worry, I won't be wearing it for anyone else? That's because in her mind, she knows who she's wearing it for, and it ain't me. And as her mind, as her inner monologue says, "Yeah, girl, you know you wearing that shit for it," then she rebuts as, "Oh, don't worry, I won't be wearing it." As if someone said something to her about wearing it for someone else. She had to verbalize in this text that she wouldn't, to reaffirm it. It's obvious. It's just sad because it seems like a waste. Maybe we can get at least a few more hot and steamy hookups with each other in before this is all said and done. And bear in mind, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about when she says this is all. We can get a couple of more hookups before this is all said and done. I mean, and all of this, what you see, I hope would be like an indication, at least to some degree, that like this woman was not abused like she said, guns crammed in her throat, choked, and all that stuff. It's obvious who's abused. And it's like she says at the bottom here, which is bizarre. She's like, yeah, that was tacky or whatever. The crazy thing is that, like, the sex was really starting to get good, and she's like, why does it have to be over? Well, it doesn't. But what this indicates to me is that she's having to move forward with something that's a plan, that she has to do it, like she says to her, to the woman, the former Kyoto employee. She says, I think I'm mostly scared because I feel like a fool and I know I did some really stupid shit. And then she says that the stupid shit she did was to keep me out of trouble. And when she says right here, why do I have to do this? A money laundering scheme, a lot of money missing, covering up the truth that, like, we're pretending like it's everybody else and, like, they're just stealing from us or whatever, when the truth, the cold, bitter reality. Dad talking about money laundering, Dad smiling in my face. And you doing some stupid shit to keep me out of trouble? Well, if by trouble you mean somebody made threats or somebody said they was going to do me something if you didn't fucking do what they told you to do, I can only think of one person that would act like that. Get with the fucking program.